Godzilla, right? You know, just the king of the monsters and all. This iconic character has, over many decades, wowed audiences and shocked the world with groundbreaking effects and over-the-top monster battles. But not all of Godzilla's fights have been quite as spectacular. In this video, we are going to uncover what could be the most terrible Godzilla ever made. Have you ever seen one of those movies or shows that are somehow so bad that they are good? Well, this story definitely fits in that category. It's so bad, it's actually kind of good. So you're gonna want to stick around for this whole story. Plus, I got a special guest for you guys in the video that you won't want to miss. Hey Al, what do you think of this one?
Godzilla versus... what?
Charles Barkley.
Christ. Here we go again.
Let's get to it. Godzilla vs. Charles Barkley is a concept most of us born in the last 30 years are probably unaware of. Dating back to 1992. Shout out to my fellow residents turning 30 this year. We getting old, everyone. Godzilla vs. Charles Barkley was first showcased in the form of a Nike sneaker commercial. You might have seen some parts of it before, but here's a quick refresher. This was and still is a pretty great collaboration between both the sports and entertainment worlds, something I personally think should happen even more these days. Regardless, this molding of the worlds was a hit, and somehow the commercial was popular enough to warrant its very own comic book, where they literally went and crafted an elaborate backstory and climax for this wacky-ass idea of an advertisement. Releasing under Dark Horse Comics in 1993, Godzilla vs. Charles Barkley had officially entered the game.
Player 2 has entered the game.
But who is Charles Barkley? He was not only an NBA All-Star during the game's golden years of the 80s and 90s, but was also an Olympic gold medalist. Most of you younger people are going to recognize him as the guy who loves to say, terrible.
That's terrible.
In short, he's a proper icon in the sporting world. So it made sense at the time of the early 90s to have him face off against the king of the monsters. Now I'm going to hand the reins on over to this video's special guest, Mr. Clayton Fury.
As for our main story, it all started one day in the 90s on a sunny beach. Charles Barkley is doing a meet and greet with local fans during a press conference, and this is where we meet one of our protagonists, a young boy named Matthew, who desperately wants to see his favorite basketball player but is told to leave due to the large crowds. This is where a disheartened Matthew gets some valuable information from his wise old grandfather. One day, his grandson might just grow up to be a great warrior, just like Charles Barkley.
He has what I call the heart of a champion.
He says this because old grandpa is in possession of a magical coin that just so happens to have the ability to do some unexplained magical things. But it's when these magical properties are being explained that an injured sailor washes up on the beach proclaiming a monster to be out at sea, and suddenly... it's Godzilla! He's come to attack the beach, and when fighter jets fly over top, Matthew knows that they're no match for the king of the monsters. And the only thing that can save them now is Charles Barkley, Earth's greatest warrior, who must have in his possession the magical grandpa coin to defeat their enemy. At first, Charles is a little apprehensive to the boy's warnings, but fate would have it that he fires his staff and takes off with Matthew to fight Godzilla. Matthew thinks Earth's greatest warrior may need to put the coin in his mouth or something to defeat Godzilla. You know, some way to trigger the powers, but Barkley doesn't really agree.
That's terrible.
So they end up playing a little one-on-one b-ball while Godzilla destroys the city in the background. To see who goes first, they toss the coin, which falls on its side perfectly before Barkley picks it up and transforms into a gigantic version of himself. And he didn't even have to give up his talent to do it. Now, hundreds of feet tall, Charles Barkley, Earth's greatest warrior, has no other choice but to step up to the plate and face Godzilla one-on-one in combat. Hey, what's going on, guys? Hope you all enjoyed that. Just a little bit of fun talking about Charles Barkley versus Godzilla. And if you're interested to check out some more stuff like that, whether it be Godzilla or even Jurassic Park stuff in the future, go on down to Dragon Curve or my main channel, which is just my name. Yeah, I hope you guys had fun. Big thanks to Jacob for throwing me in this video because it's hilarious. But yeah, appreciate all you guys watching it. Hope you all take it easy.
So you heard him explain what could be the intro to the most weird Godzilla story ever made. And trust me, it gets even more wackier, so let's get back to the story. Godzilla rampages across the city as a weary Charles Barkley stares at the beast, now eye to eye, standing 300 feet tall. Earth's greatest hero had a hell of an opponent in front of him. However, Barkley is unfazed, and even manages to throw some shade at the big G-Man, calling the King of the Monsters a suitcase-looking sucker, referring to the monster's leathery skin. Knowing that physical combat was a losing situation, Charles came to only one conclusion. He needed to challenge Godzilla to a game of basketball, 1v1, even bullying Godzilla some by chucking the ball at the G-Man's head. Careful there, Chuck. Godzilla sends an atomic blast Charles' way, to make sure the athlete remembers his place. The G-Man does, however, accept Barkley's request for a 1v1 in a game of basketball, and the two travel to an old Air Force base that just so happens to have a space rocket launching platform, with a basketball goal hoop and backboard connected to it. Why? I have no idea. After a quick showcase of what the game is all about, the two combatants get ready to face off. In the meantime, a giant crowd of onlookers begins to build near the makeshift arena. Godzilla gets the ball first. The match is set, it's time to play ball. The G-Man strikes first, with a fadeaway jump shot that swishes through the net. And he gets Charles back for that cheap shot earlier with a tail whip to the face as the ball drops through the hoop. Charles pays the big man his respect, but now it's his time to shine. Godzilla started off strong, but his lack of experience in the game allows Barkley to easily run the score up on him. And now the G-Man, being the moody creature that he is, begins to grow tired of this game, and in his fury, melts the basketball with an atomic blast, thus ending the game and forfeiting the match. If he was gonna lose anyway, he might as well destroy some stuff while he was at it, right? This is when this ridiculous story came to its conclusion. Knowing that Godzilla could easily go berserk once again, Charles plays mind games with the monster, telling him that perhaps he could go pro one day, as long as he kept his cool. The story quickly cuts to the two once again getting ready for a game of hoops. Godzilla this time sporting a clean pair of 1993 Nike sneakers. So this is when Barkley's big plan to stop Godzilla from causing mayhem comes into action. He states to the King of the Monsters that if Godzilla were to make 1 million layup shots, that afterwards he could join the NBA, knowing damn well that it was going to take a long time for Godzilla to perform such a ridiculous task. But he knew Godzilla's massive pride and ego would hold the monster to his word, so Godzilla was defeated in a way. But I hate to know what was going to happen in 100 or so years when Godzilla was done and found out that Barkley was a liar. At least he'd be dead by then, I guess. Alright residents, so I hope you enjoyed that terrible Godzilla story. If you want more videos like this, going back in time and taking a look at some of the more interesting Godzilla movies, ideas, concepts that have ever been made, you know what to do. Share this video around, stomp that subscribe button, and leave the video a like. So to give you guys a little bit of my thoughts on this whack-ass story, overall, it's pretty damn stupid and silly. But I loved seeing Godzilla, the NBA, and even Nike coming together to unite the separate industries. It's kind of a nice way of saying that jocks and nerds can all kind of get along, you know? And considering how ridiculously silly of an idea that it is, for what it was pretty well made. They somehow made the concept of Godzilla taking on a basketball player enjoyable, and for that, hey, I give them a thumbs up. Whoever worked to make this thing happen, at the very least, knew what they were trying to achieve and stuck with it till the end. On that note, everyone, thank you for giving me your time today. This has been Jacob, and I will see you in the next one.